Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. This week has been a very exciting week for tournaments in Pokemon Pocket. We had 2,000 players in Ursiiday's tournament. We have a surprise deck winner and another deck that could have won and would have been an incredible shot. We'll get into everything on this channel. If you do want to see more of this content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it. We finally have a Gyarados winner. Now, this deck, I think we've started to see it be very popular. It hasn't won previously in Ursiiday's tournament. It's got close. I think it got to a final and lost. But we're starting to see this general deck being used. The 12 Pokemon, 8 trainer. You want to fit everything into this. And honestly, the trainers, some people started to use blue, but I think it's really hard right now. With the amount of trainers you've got, you need your Pokeballs, you need your Professors, and you need Misty because it's all a water deck. So only 2 slots left. You've got Druddigon, 2 retreat. Leaf is necessary. It's a shame we only have 20 cards. This was one of the decks where it really wants a lot of cards. You've got some like Articuno, which if it could have less, it would choose to. But yeah, this deck has done very, very well so far. There's been diminishing interest in Charizard Arcanine decks, but as you can see, only 2% and 3% compared to the mammoth amount of players using Mewtwo Gardevoir and the ever-growing Gyarados Greninja. We do actually see a Charizard Arcanine get all the way to the final and narrowly lose in that final. Very well played as well. They had to fight again a type imbalance against an already strong Gyarados deck, and I think they did really well. If you look in their history as well, they had to play 3 decks exactly the same, and the fact they won 2 of them shows how good this guy was. I think he lost the final 2-1 as well. Very good player, and I'm sure this person, Any, will be very successful in this tournament if he just gets a bit lucky with his matchups. To go negative matchup back-to-back in a semi-final and final and nearly win is insane. You might be wondering, will this deck completely take over the meta? Will it get more popular than Mewtwo? Now, its matchup into Mewtwo is probably why it's so popular. As you can see, it successfully destroyed Mewtwo over and over and over again. But you will notice, and I think this is very key, right, before people really start jumping on the Gyarados bandwagon, 1 Pikachu. And he did win against a person who dropped straight away. But 1 Pikachu in this run is very fortunate, considering Pikachu was the 3rd most popular deck in the whole tournament. I think if he ran into a Pikachu earlier, I don't know if he wins the whole thing. Take this play as well, 3rd place with only 2 losses. It's a similar story. It's only, in fact, he doesn't even play a Pikachu. He goes the whole tournament without playing a single one. The less popular Pikachu gets, the more successful Gyarados is, unfortunately. We're starting to almost see a rock, paper, scissors come into effect here. We've got Gyarados always beating Mewtwo, almost always. Pikachu almost always beating Gyarados, and Mewtwo almost always beating Pikachu. These need to be, I think, equally balanced in order to have, you know, different winners. If we're starting to see more Mewtwo players, you know, maybe Gyarados will start to win more. More Pikachu players will mean Mewtwo will win more. That's what we're going to see. Celebi Superior, I did a video about this deck recently. It's a good deck. It's just very inconsistent. I'm going to play a clip here of Jody Azarelli going out of this tournament because he rolled 6 tails in a row, and like that's unfortunately what you can get with this deck. It can do incredible. I feel like this deck can beat any deck in the game. It could also lose to any deck in the game. It's one of the few that can do that. I just wanted to briefly mention this tournament as well. Once again, it's no surprise a Mewtwo Gardevoir does win it. That hasn't shocked anyone in the last month of this game. But you will notice an Aerodactyl Primate. Now, this deck is starting to slowly drift forward in terms of popularity. I personally love it. I think you can do this deck in so many different ways as well. I also love this one, the Farfetch'd matchup too. I think Farfetch is good for early pressure. You've got a Hitmonlee to target the bench. You have a Marshadow to revenge kill. I think it all synergizes very well. A Primate only has 1 energy to punch for 50. I think these decks are possibly going to be more popular. I will say there is a negative side, unfortunately. Just as I mentioned earlier, Mewtwo has great matchups into Pikachu and often does win against Pikachu. It's even stronger against Primate Aerodactyl. As you can see, this guy did very well. 10-1 is incredible, and I'll not take that away from him. But if you will notice, he's the only time he fought a Mewtwo Gardevoir in the entire tournament is in the final. And yeah, I mean, you know, it's very hard to to make a case for this deck when you're just not playing its counter. If you're going after decks you can beat, like in the semi-final, he beat a Pikachu Zeb Striker, which he obviously has a perfect matchup into, and a lot of neutral. And I think it might be a sign it's good into the neutral. But Mewtwo is so popular, it's hard for me to suggest playing this deck when you're probably going to play Mewtwo's a lot of time. This person did, I think, get very fortunate to not play a single Mewtwo. I'm really not saying it to be negative. Just look at all the other people who use this kind of deck. As you can see, it starts to really trail off in records towards the very bottom. I can just pick this random person here. And yeah, look, Mewtwo Gardevoir there lost. This person lost 5 in a row, which is unfortunate. And even this guy here, he didn't even have to play a Mewtwo in the whole tournament. Very good record with 6 and 2. Still lost to a neutral matchup. Didn't even play its counter. And still didn't go any further than that. You might wonder as well why Gyarados didn't win this tournament. It was a lot smaller. Maybe there's more of a chance. It ran into a Pikachu Raichu. Now, this person was very unlucky. This person ran into 3 different Pikachu decks. I'll give him incredible credit, by the way. He managed to beat 2 of them. But unfortunately, in the last 8, you're going to play very good players. This guy had an 8 and 2 record, so he's a top player. And it's a deck that counters you. So that's probably why this deck did lose. I wanted to quickly touch upon the fact Golem Drudigon has fell off a cliff. Only 4 people took it, 1% of players. And I mean, it didn't do terribly, but no one with this deck qualified for the last 32 and got close to winning. I think people started to find the way around it. And I think, you know, people started to use a Golem Drudigon and then they found out, well, Gyarados is actually better than Golem. And it's an EX tournament. If it's a non-EX, I think Golem Drudigon is the go-to. But when you can use EX Pokemon and Gyarados not only has synergy with Misty, it can swing for 140 and take an energy away from your opponent. I think that's probably the most disgusting part about that card, by the way, which doesn't really often get talked about. You can swing for 140, remove an energy, a vital energy on their bench to help with a revenge kill. And it's just chance that you get it. You could take away from Gyarados doesn't care if it removes its own. It can just reapply a new one and start swinging again. But if your opponent is building up a Pokemon on the bench with energy and you take one of those away, that could single-handedly win the game on the spot. And it's just pure chance it happens. I'll end on this note here. I love seeing new decks come into the meta. I think the meta's always changing. And I do love Aerodactyl Primate. I've been using it myself. I find it really fun. Primate synergizes really well. They all synergize brilliantly. And if, like I said, you add a Farfetch'd into that mix, it's just fantastic. Hitmonlee for the bench, Farfetch'd for early damage, Primate 1 energy, swinging for 50, and then you have a Revenge Killer in the back with Marshadow. I love it. It's brilliant. But it does make Mewtwo better. And it's hard for me to support something that makes Mewtwo better, because the more people who use this deck mean the Mewtwo players are licking their lips. I want to see more balance. I hate that Mewtwo is strung into 2 really good decks right now. I'll end on this question and you can answer yourselves. What is the best deck in the game? Like I said, it seems like a rock, paper, scissors game going on right now. And this game already has loads of RNG anyway. In these tournaments, you need to have the right cards come out. You need to play against the right matchup. You need everything to kind of go your way. And especially in this kind of rock, paper, scissors format. You will get incredible players, like I said earlier about the Charizard player, who nearly won back-to-back matchups that were very negative in a final against very good players. I'll give that guy credit. But yeah, do let me know what you think is the best deck in the game. And can it get beaten? Will we see more of a meta? We got at the end of January, we're going to see even more packs come into the game. The meta will change again, and I can't wait for it. Thank you all for watching. Like I said earlier, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll catch you in a bit.